Hello, Masterpiece. We've been talking about parenting is hard work. And I think that as parents or even parents to be, there's always something we can learn. And what a good resource to have with the Bible and to even know people who have walked the walk as parents to share their story, to help us come close to becoming those better parents that we want to be. Parenting is one of the ministries that we have to take seriously. And I pray that as we go through these discussions and we talk about parenting is hard work, something in our own hearts as parents will change so we can minister to our children, and that will bring that transformation that we want to see. Remember, parenting is hard work. It's God's work, and He always works with our hearts. Don't forget to join our group so you can hear more about these amazing conversations that will help us to become that masterpiece of a parent that will be a blessing for generations and generations to come.
How have you been able to raise two boys, not boys, just not even girls, boys on your own as a single mother? How have you been able to do it? And I mean, just tell us your story, because I'm sure someone
Yeah,
is
we
wondering.
used to live in Europe, and I was married then to an American. So we lived in Germany, and when we were getting ready to come to the States, I went through a rough divorce. I mean, my life came, I woke up one day, I had a great marriage. I'm not going to lie. I didn't have the marriage that will have me have a plan B or plan A or C or whatever. But
Right.
I had a great marriage, and maybe there were things that I didn't see, but we were in church. We served in the church. He was a deacon. We were a young couple that most African students in Heidelberg looked up to. So I had a wonderful marriage, and it came to a halt with no warning signs. And we were ready to come back to the States. So here I was with two little children, 2.5 and then 6.
Wow.
And knowing that when we come to America, they were American citizens. And so therefore I cannot live in I cannot live in Europe
Yeah.
and let them come with their dad, then I will lose my kids.
Right.
So I had to come to the United States knowing that getting here, I was going to be a single parent. And with all the negative press that
Right.
you have about single parents, and then you come to America, you become a black person, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we were Africans, we come to America, we become black. And then you raising two black boys in America in a single parent home was very difficult for me to even think of. So I decided that my kids are not going to grow up in a broken home. I
Mm.
stood on the word of God and said, my kids are going to grow up in a loving home,
Right.
in a nurturing home, but never a broken home. So, and I have a little story to that. We were watching the news or something on TV one day, and they said something about single parents, very negative. It's always negative.
Yeah.
And then my younger son then said, Mom, my younger son, Quincy, said, Mom, I don't think they know about us. I don't think so. So yeah, so we got here, I became a single parent, and I decided to go to school to become a teacher. The
Wow.
reasoning being, it wasn't something that I thought I wanted to do, but the reason was so that I will be off when my children are off.
Mm.
You know, I will be there. You know, I will be present in
Yeah.
raising them.
Yeah.
And so I raised them in the church. You know, I was in the church like 3, 4 times a week. So we went to church a lot. You know, I held on to scriptures a lot. So my thing is, you have to know that you are not perfect. No parent is perfect.
No parent.
Single parent, co-parenting, it's not perfect. But you have to hold on to the word of God. And God helped me through it. It wasn't my doing at all.
Wow, that is amazing. I want to piggyback on something you said about the negative press. So, how were you able to find yourself in the church? Because I think even in the church, we still have negative press, and
Yeah.
people don't get the time or take the time to know your story, but make their own decisions around what has happened. And, that even makes it difficult for people to own up and tell their story, because before you can say it, it's already a negative,
Yeah, yeah,
idea. So
yeah.
how were you able to stay in church as a single parent?
Okay, so I had to do some soul searching because when I was married and was in the church, I never thought about a single parent. It wasn't something I even thought of, right? So now here I am in the church as a single parent, and they preach at you all the time. They're like, "Oh, if you need a husband, you need to do the work." You need, and I'm like, first of all, I don't need a husband. I want to be able to take care of my kids. I want to be able to grow as a person by myself. But so it's always, oh, so I didn't want anybody to see me with pity. What I wanted to do was to stand strong as a woman of God and build my village because, mind you, I live in Polk County. Miss Abba knows that. There's not a lot of Africans here. So I built my village with my Caucasian friends, my African friends that I find, my Caribbean friends. You have to enlarge your boundaries. You can't
Yes.
say, okay, there are no Ghanaians, so me, I'm not going to have any friends. I'm just going to be in my corner, be some kind of way. No, you have to enlarge your boundaries because this family that I built were there for me. You
Mm.
see. So yes, I stayed in the church, but what I did was started a parenting group, a single parent group.
Wow.
And so my pastor at that time, they will say all the things that are happening in my life, they will use it to preach. I was like a token single parent. So yes, I did not shy away from the church because I know God helped me. So, I did not worry about all the negative things they were saying. It just didn't happen. I used to cry a lot. I would go to my children's school for awards night, right? You see everybody. What the enemy does is I don't even know if it's a he, whatever he is. He makes you see everybody as a couple
And perfect.
and perfect. And you are the only single person, and then you are in America. So you are a black single woman
Yes.
sitting there with your children. But the day that broke for me was was an awards day, and I'm sitting there with my two friends who came with me, my friend Helen and Rita. They came with me, and my son Kwame was going to ninth grade, and so it was eighth grade awards. And when they call him to get the award, as he's coming down the stairs, they call him again. So it was like Kwame Newton, Kwame Newton, Kwame Newton. So at that moment,
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, there are couples here, but God is just putting light on my work. You
Right.
see, God is just showing that, okay, she's a single parent, but I haven't forsaken her. That was the day things broke for me. And so every time I go to awards night now, I wait till everybody sit down and I walk in with pride and joy. I'm alone and I don't care, but it takes work. It's not easy. You judge yourself a lot and people are judging you. So it takes a lot of work. Yeah.
Wow. I'm very excited that you shared this piece, because I know people who are going through divorces and some difficult times in their marriages, and they're wondering how they can parent the kids, alone, and how they can do this alone. And the church sometimes is not overly helpful. We
Mhm.
we don't help the situation at all. We don't come to the aid or anything. We just criticize, and we talk and we talk and we talk. So it's just a good thing to know that we can build our community, we can continue to expand and have friends and believe God every step of the way, that no matter
Yes.
the situation, He still has us. It reminds me of the story of Hagar, and how she went out alone into the wilderness, and she thought the son is going to die, and God heard the cry of that child and said, I've heard that child. I've heard it. I have your back. And she called the place the God who sees me. I
Yes.
like that. When you said
Yes.
that broke for you, I felt like that was exactly the same for Hagar
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
God sees us, and He sees through the things that people don't see. And
Yes.
that's the conversation that we are going to even position ourselves for, the heart conversation of what God sees that sometimes not sometimes, a lot of times we don't see.
Yeah.
We don't see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I
Yeah.
like it. So I think that when I started thinking about connecting with your child's heart. I have parents, like couples together, that are struggling to connect with their children's heart. It's a lot of hard work. And knowing some of our backgrounds, it's almost like, how much can we put in? Because when we say connection, it's emotion, and we don't have that.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've noticed it, Dr. Vivian.
Yes.
We are not overly emotional people at
Yeah.
all. We are sometimes so blank that it's difficult to read us,
Yeah.
and it's difficult for us to show emotion. And we grew up that way.
Yeah.
Now we are being challenged to connect with our children's heart because the world has changed, and we are in America, or we are somewhere else,
Yeah.
but we don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
How do we solve for this gap ourselves before we can even try to connect with our children? And how
Yeah.
have you done it?
So you have one thing I did was I was frank with my kids.
Mm,
We talked about everything. The
mm,
only reason why I will give credit to Oprah Winfrey show, I watch a lot of Oprah Winfrey show to the point that when my kids were little, they gave me a 1 year free pass that every 4 o'clock they will leave me alone because I had to. So there was a mother on there. There was a mother who was a Christian mother, whose son was a very brilliant kid in college, was a star athlete,
mm.
and he went to a party and was drunk
Right.
and was driving home and got into an accident and killed somebody. And this woman, this thing that she said that stood with me was, because I was a Christian, I told him, no, 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 you can't do these things. You can't. So my son never came to me
Oh,
to, talk about any of his fears or anything that he's done wrong, right? So I heard her say, "What if I know what I know now?" I would have said, "Son, in case
in
you
case.
drink,
Mm,
please call me if you're home. I'll pick you up or call a taxi. Do not be afraid. Don't get behind the wheel."
yeah.
So what I did with that was, when my kids would go to prom parties, and we are in a country where they were in a 99% white school. So I
Mm,
would tell them, listen, if anything were to happen, don't be afraid. Call me. Just say, just look at your phone and say, my mom is texting me. She wants to pick me up. I'll come pick you up. Okay, no judgment here. Because one day my
mm.
older son shared something with me, and I was about to just jump. You know how we jump,
Yes,
and
yes, react.
and the Lord said, don't you dare judge him. Don't you dare judge him. And I had to stop and look at me, and I said, I've done some things. And because my mom didn't know about it, she couldn't even jump on
Say
it.
anything.
But
Yes.
he's telling me this. So you have to know your children are all different.
Mm,
My son Quasi is different from my son Kwame. So I have to know what works with one, and it takes time.
it takes.
So you have to connect with your children and talk to them about it, not talk at them. Because what African parents we do is talk at our children, right? If
Say it
you
again.
do
I
this,
think,
you
Dr.
see,
Vivian.
you'll be homeless. You'll only get work in McDonald's. Would you go school? We say these things without, so the child is like, I don't need to talk to my mom. I have students, African students, who call me and tell me their fears because one of them told me, I can't call my mom, and that's a shame
That's
that
a
your child could not call you when they are struggling with something. We should
Dr.
be able
Vivian.
to have that open door policy
Mm-hmm.
and let our children understand that I'm here for you. I'm not saying you should go do wrong, but
Mm.
our children are not perfect. They're going to miss the mark. And we
And
have to give them that open door policy. Come to me.
and
Come
we
talk to
did,
me.
we did when we were kids as well.
Yeah,
I think we forget sometimes that we've all been kids,
yeah,
all been naughty. We've all done
yeah,
things that our parents never got to know,
yeah,
good,
yeah,
bad, or evil.
yeah,
I mean, so I think sometimes we have to almost step back and say, we've been there, we've
yeah,
been in your shoes.
yeah.
But you said something, two things that I want you to, to say again or clarify a bit. You talked about the fact that, when this show, this woman was saying that, if she knew what she knew, she would have given this child a little bit more. And this is really critical in our Christian homes because we stay on the word of God and we say, okay, do not do this, do not do this, do not. We are so firm on the don'ts that we forget that scripture that says that if any man sin, we have an advocate.
Yes.
There is an advocate because of the fact that we will sin.
Yes.
We don't give the children any room for error.
Error.
When they make those mistakes, the door is closed.
Mm-hmm.
And call a friend, and the friend tells them what we wouldn't have told them to do, and they do it. So, I mean, I think we have this fear. I would say that is what I feel. It's a fear that we have in opening the door to say that if anything happens, because it's like, if I say it and then something happens, how do
That's what Africans are, because we are afraid to. It's like, on another note, just jumping out a little bit, my mom came to visit and I'm like, Mom, we need to talk about your future. If something happens to you, what should we do? She went to her room and didn't talk to me for because in Africa we just don't talk about, we don't plan. Death is something that will come. So people plan, but we don't, right? So it's the same thing. Don't remember, like, don't say it. If you say it, it will come to pass. No, it will not come to pass. You are preparing. You are being wise. I wanted to share something with you. Comparing our children.
Wow.
We Africans, we have to outdo each other, right? Oh, Kweku did this and did that and did that. I was even so careful with putting light on my children's accomplishments, and Auntie Abba had to help me through that. Because I will post things on Facebook and I'll just say, oh, Kwame is graduating from law school, and Auntie Abba will say, correct that, what law school? Things like that. Because I just feel like, I don't want people to think I'm bragging, but we worked hard. When the children were little, I was going to school alongside them. So we will go to the library and we will do all our work. Let your children play, okay? This pandemic, video games saved my younger son. And when he left, I was like, I don't hear Chrissy yelling in his room anymore. So let them play, but let them work hard.
Right.
Let them, we will go to the library, do all our work. As I'm doing this, they're doing this. Then when we come home, they can knock themselves out and I don't care. Okay? And you can just, see what kind of games they are playing, at what age they are in, and what they can do. So we need to give our children room to grow, room to trust us as African parents. We don't say things into the universe. If you get a C, then you'll never get into college. It's not true.
It's not true.
If you do this, then the only job you can get is McDonald's. And their talents and gifts. Nurture them. Okay, nurture them. Whatever that gift is, so that we don't, do the same thing our parents did. We have to be lawyers or doctors or engineers.
Right.
So that's one of the things.
I love that. I love that. It's like that fear, we have to address it as we go forward to become better parents. The fear of, if I tell them, okay, don't have sex, but if anything happens, let me know. We don't want to add the but or if. It's like, no, they shouldn't. It should never happen. We are not saying that's a blank check, go do it. But we also acknowledge that we are human and they are human as well. And things will happen. But if it happens, they have a confidence in us. They have, somebody they can talk to who will not judge them, will not pounce at them. And that is another thing you said. He said, we talk at our kids. I've had what Miss Abba said was a family meetings, and I've had the kids saying, okay, you're just talking at us. It's like they are not having a say in the conversation. All we do is yep. And we just talk and talk and talk. How do we stop that behavior? How do we change that behavior so we also get them engaged to talk to us?
You have to ask them questions about, so I have two boys who are different. And Kwesi loves sports. So not that he plays, he did a speech and he said, he's not gifted with sports, but what he wants to do is own a team one day. And I was like, that's bold. But he loves sports. He can talk about sports all day long. So I will listen to his sports, and I'm not interested, but I have to be interested. I ask questions. So what is this person doing? What is this? And then, of course, Kwame fills me with podcasts, politics, and history, and I'm on, so I can have a conversation with him as well, and their interest, not. You know how we African parents are. When they start telling us something, is that what you learned at school? Is that what you learned at school? You learn, and then when you are coming talking about LeBron James, who is that kind of thing. Take the time, educate yourself in their interest. Okay, educate yourself. It's not like you're reading a whole book. You're just clicking a few tabs and okay, so what is this? And then you can engage them in their conversation. It's not every time that we'll talk about go and learn, go and study, it's not every time. Sometimes just take the time to. I've gone to games that I don't know what is going on the field, but because Kwesi wants to go, I go. I don't have a clue what is going on, but you have to make that time. If you have more than one child, then make time. Have a rendezvous with your child. Have a rendezvous. Have that time for one child, and then another time and then you guys will come together. Not that you'll always be apart, but know when to have this time with this person. Kwesi just celebrated his birthday, and we quarantined for 10 months together. And we would drive around, and he loves good restaurants. He's not there yet, but he loves nice places. So we'll find time to do those things that makes him happy, and then I can spend that time with him. So get to know your child's heart. There are things that I have said in the past, and immediately I say it, and I see my child's face. I know. They don't have to say a word. I just know they are hurt by my words, because I grew up in, they're just talking at us, and I will say those things, and then I know that, then I'll say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. The way I meant, first I used to be very, attackful way. I'll say, oh, you know what I mean, that kind of behavior. But I had to stop doing that. I say, you know what, I didn't, I hear you. What you're saying, the way I said it was wrong. You don't have to explain, oh, but I meant it like that. You should have done it. No, because I'm telling you, we are living in a different country. And if you try to bring them up in a different way, like we were brought up, you will lose your children.
You will.
You don't want to lose them. Okay. You don't want them going together. Advice that you give them with their friends and other people. You should be proud for them to call you and say, Mom, Dad, can you pray with me? Or Mom, Dad, can you talk? I told my kids, call me, because they are always away. I said, call me in the middle of the night. So I don't turn off my phone, call me. If anything, 2 a.m., they will call. If maybe they went to study and they are walking to their dorm and they are alone, they will call. They say, Mom, can you talk? I say, where are you? Oh, I'm just leaving here and I'm going to my dorm. And I'll talk to them all the way till I hear that key and they enter. It's not being a helicopter parent.
Yes.
Because they could have called another friend, but they called you. So I'm honored for you to call me and disturb my sleep. I don't know if everybody will agree, but I was glad that, they could call me and disturb my sleep, and I make sure that they are fine. Then I can also sleep, right? So I wrote some things down to share with the group. One of the things, set clear goals with your children. Your goals should be clear. What your family wants to do, what we want to do as a family. You have to set those goals. Don't say this today and tomorrow you say that. Set clear goals. Be well organized. As a single parent, to any single parent who is listening, I had to be organized.
Right.
I have to know what works for me. Something that works for somebody who is in a married home will not work for me. So I have to know what works for me, what sports my children can play that I can be able to, go pick them up, what activities. You have to be, you just Be honest with yourself.
Mhm.
It's not a competition, right? Be honest with yourself. So be organized, be flexible with your children, be flexible, and also be firm. Just because they are your friend and you talk to them and everything doesn't mean that there are things. I tell my children there are things that I don't like.
Yes.
So you know that mom doesn't like that. And when you tell me you don't like something, I also, respect that. So you have to respect that. Okay. So be firm.
Okay.
And then know when to be independent and when to rely on others.
Yeah.
My friends are married. All my friends, amazingly, I don't have a lot of single parent friends, but I rely on them, and I don't want to become a needy person. Okay, you overwhelm your friendship.
Mhm.
And when they pick up the phone and they say, Vivian, where are you? I need you. I should be able to be there for them. And they for me, vice versa. So do not overwhelm your friendships as a single mom. Don't just want to go out, so you call your friends and say, sometimes you can do that, but you need to plan it so the other person can also plan, right? Friendships. And one of the things you have to do is believe in yourself. Forgive yourself for however you became a single parent, however that happened. Forgive yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. When you make mistakes, get up and do it again. Get up and do it again. Have close friends that you can call. Facebook is not your friend like that,
Yeah.
that you have to go put all your business on Facebook. When you need prayer, there should be some friends that you can call who will petition heaven for you, with you. You
Yes.
see, so we have to be careful. Don't look at people's life on Facebook.
It's not real.
So try to reach your child's heart by having conversations. Study them. Know what all of them are different. Know what they need so that you can nurture them in that way.
Right. So I think you said a few things that I want to piggyback on, right? This conversation thing. I know it's key, and I know it's something that we really want to do. And I see a lot of people joining as well. You're welcome. Before I see you, I see Daniel is on now. All of you are welcome again. So we've been talking about parenting is hard work, and today we are talking about connecting with our children's hearts. So Dr. Vivian is doing a great job walking us through her story. And even before I go on to what I was going to say, you said something about single parents. And I had asked you the question before we started that I have married people, married women, married men who are in a relationship and they still feel single.
Yeah.
It's either a lot of them are on the woman's side, right? They are doing everything. And sometimes it's because the other spouse is doing work and is doing more stuff. But sometimes the other spouse is still there, but is still not present, is not ready to help, is not ready to learn, is not ready to, put themselves into this whole better parenting so we can raise a godly children. And unfortunately, sometimes it's also in the minister's home, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
they do the ministry to the outside, but internally, the ministry is missing.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that a bit, because I really pray that someone will be blessed and someone will be helped
Yeah.
as we talk.
And with the ministry, one thing I'll say is Jesus already died. He already did for all of us. And so this is not the time to neglect your family and say you're doing God's work to the point of forgetting that you have a family.
Yes.
And I see that in the church a lot. It hurts a lot of people because they are doing God's work, but your work that God has given you first is your family.
It is.
Is God first and then your family. So if your family is not getting enough of your time, and you're going there giving your time to everybody else. There's a movie that my children and I watch every Christmas because I love the movie, so they have to watch it. And this time around, they were like, "Oh, do we have to?" I said, that's all I ask. It's a tradition. Yeah, no tradition. It's called Preacher's Wife with Whitney Houston. Remember that movie? You see how the husband was doing God's work so much. So God had to send the angel to kind of make him know that, hey, you're neglecting your family. You see? So the parents, either male or female, who is feeling neglectful has to find a way to make it work for them. If you are the one, if your husband is working so much, you know he's working and his work demands him to be there all the time, then find a time that planning is important,
Yeah.
right? Look at the calendar. Let your husband give you or wife give you their calendar for the month, okay? And see what they're doing. Okay, if he has surgery, if he has court, if he has overtime work, if he has all. So then you find a time that works with the children's schedule and your schedule and have that family time. Even if it's once a month, it's okay. And those who feel like, okay, but I'm the only one going, and some people are just difficult people and you can't change them. But don't feel sorry for yourself. Make it work for you.
Hello, Masterpiece. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you are transformed, inspired, and learned something today that will help you in your journey to become a masterpiece. Make sure to subscribe, share, like, and come back again to see more videos, and let's continue encouraging each other. See you soon.
Masterpiece.